guys.
So, welcome back to the second episode of the Digital Spotlight podcast. I'm your co-host, Alexa Peralta, Director of the e-Governance and Digitalization Unit. I'm a digital champion, but I'm also part of a great, creative, innovative, agile team who are catalysts to the change in Belize. And this week, I'm actually joined by Erwin. Erwin, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, hi guys, my name is Erwin Wills. I am a master's student in project management, currently studying at UWI in Barbados. And I'm more so here to get a youth's perspective about what e-governance is, what it means for us as youths, and to touch on some topics as it relates to issues, not only with youths, but in general. So, I'm excited to be here. Thank you. And I know last week, the podcast touched on several issues that relate to the digital agenda. And I did some research, and I realized that 3.7 billion people are still unconnected to the internet. And while some of us might take it for granted here in Belize that we just go on the internet and use it for Facebook, some people even have the access to the internet for whatever services they need, whatever services they really, really need. So one of the issues is the digital divide and how gender intertwines with the digital divide. So could you touch on that a bit more?
Certainly, and I mean, as you saw, 3.7 billion people are still unconnected. When you think about it globally, that's like, oh my God, how is that even possible? But if you kind of drill down to Belize's context, you realize that there's still many who are unconnected, even in our country. And that's really what the digital divide is about. It's the gap between those who have access to ICT, who have the skills, who have the knowledge, the capacity to actually use technology to improve their lives versus those who do not have it. So the digital divide is definitely a significant concern, and it's something that we really have to collectively try to mitigate at all costs. And like you said, there is the digital divide, and there's even the digital gender divide. The fact that there are people there in our country, around the world, especially women, who are marginalized, and they tend to be more marginalized when it comes to being part of the ICT sector. You know, so it's a topic that maybe we don't hear much about, but it really acknowledges too that there are challenges. There are some risks when we're venturing this transformation journey, and we have to find ways to mitigate it.
Yeah, and it's an important issue because it's happening now. A lot of people don't realize it, but it's actually happening now. And the fact that we take technology for granted in situations that we are privileged to take it for granted, but we don't really sit and think about the actual issues that you just mentioned, the amount of people who are unconnected and how gender interplays with all of that. And
I would say even age.
And I'm glad you brought up age, because when I'm thinking about it, since I'm still in school, I do have the first-hand experiences of my classmates not having a basic cell phone to access class reading materials. And given the pandemic that we're coming out of now, that really highlighted, especially here in Belize, the level of access that students themselves have into service which is really necessary, such as education. So how would you recommend we move forward from the speed, because I would like to call it a speed bump, because even though it's a gap, it's a speed bump because we're on a journey.
Correct.
So it's a gap, yes, but it's a speed bump as well, because we can get over it. How do we get over this?
And you, Erwin, when I think about a local context and what we're doing to smoothen us over that speed bump, apart from government investing in greater infrastructure and connectivity across rural communities through our different telecoms, what our unit is really focused on establishing and really implementing a national digital inclusion program that's going to focus on the same areas. It's going to focus on making sure that we have a network of digital connect centers around the country in rural and inner city areas, but it's also going to provide for trainings in digital literacy for the elderly. We're going to focus heavily on upskilling the youths and giving them new opportunities to be part of the ICT sector, and women. How do we get more women in ICT? It's such a big topic. I actually was surprised when I heard one of my colleagues tell me, did you know that only 1/3 of women today, of jobs today, actually are held by women?
1/3.
1/3. That's amazing.
The key point here, not leaving anybody behind. Only thing about it, when anybody or everybody is mentioned, it's not only the youths, but it's also the older generation as well, and the middle-aged individuals as well, because every group or every sector has a specific problem that they're facing. And,
and that's why it's important to stay connected during these podcasts, to learn more, but to also be part of the conversation.
Definitely.
Because I think it's only by learning new perspectives that we can really design new programs. And like you said, we make certain assumptions because we haven't had a conversation about the challenges and what is the challenges that we're facing. So conversation is definitely a first step to trying to address some of these speed bumps that we have in our journey. And it's not going to be the first, and it's certainly not going to be the last. There's going to be many speed bumps as we go through this transformation together. I would, personally want to see more women in this field, and for women to have that voice. And I think one of the exciting initiatives, like I said, is that digital inclusion program, which we're executing with some key partners, and one of them being the United Nations Development Program in Belize. And you're going to learn very soon about that exciting initiative, a little bit more about how we're planning to do this, the approach we're going to take, and how we're going to bring those benefits to your home. So stay tuned for the next video with the UNDP. Hi everyone, welcome again to another great conversation, but this time with my colleague, my friend, one of my greatest champions in the digital transformation evolution of the country, Ms. Amelin Mendez, the Inclusive Growth and Digitization Program Analyst at the UNDP Belize. Amelin, it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining me. And let's say, have a coffee and have a conversation, right?
Definitely. Thank you so much, Alexia, for having me here today. I'm really excited to be on set.
Me too.
And to share with the public what we're doing.
How do we create greater inclusion in the projects that we design? And you have done significant work in moving and ensuring that we're being as inclusive as possible in every single project that we design. And one of those projects, of course, is with us, which is the National Digital Inclusion Project. So tell us a little bit, how do you see that project helping us to make the impact and to address some of those challenges that exist today?
The project that we're focusing on, Digital Inclusion Project, looks at access to technology, definitely. And we're not just saying, okay, access to technology widely, but we're being very strategic. One, we're providing devices and the digital connect centers, and we're focusing on opening up these digital connect centers in the rural parts of the country where people do not have access to internet or to devices. Due to the pandemic and working in education in the past, we are cognizant that we have no-tech students, low-tech students, and high-tech students. And by that, I really mean kids that have no internet, no device, not even their mother's phone. Those that are low-tech are kids that have access to a tablet, a laptop, their mom's phone, a relative's phone, or they have internet.
Right.
And high-tech is the kids that have access to a device and also access to internet connectivity. Now, that's from the purview of education, and I know that resonates with everyone. However, we have to keep in mind that we have adults that do not have access to internet at home, or devices, and then we also start thinking about the elderly who need access to government services.
Correct.
and
Access to social services that they need for their own, social protection. So that's critical.
definitely. So that is the backdrop pretty much for our digital inclusion project. And it focuses, like I said, access through the Digital Connect Centers, educational and training for youths and women in particular. So the idea is to train over 700 youths in digital skills, but not just training them and say, okay, bye, you have a certificate, but training them and trying to connect them to job opportunities within the private sector. So that is something that we're really excited
Yes.
about. And the third area of large focus is creating a central platform for centralizing government services instead of having to go to immigration, vital statistics website,
Which
companies
we all know
registry,
is a
taxes,
never-ending challenge,
put everything
right?
together.
Yeah. I liked what you said, how you broke it down really. No tech students, low tech, and high tech. And it reminds me of a conversation that I had with another colleague who really said, we can't expect the new generation, the youths, to be digital natives as we like to assume they are, if they don't have access to the tools, if they don't have access to the internet. These things are now critical to
Yes.
our development, to their development. You spoke about being able to connect them to the private sector. So we begin to see now how our project is not just tackling challenges that we face in the ICT sector, but we're also now trying to tackle larger national goals like, access to jobs, which I think everybody can relate to. Everybody wants to have a meaningful job. So I think that's something that the project's definitely doing. Ms. Mendez, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. I'm certain it's not going to be the last one, and we're going to continue to have this conversation. And thank you for all the great support. So on behalf of my unit and even the government and the people, thank you for the support of the UNDP and helping us to meet the needs of our citizens at home. It's been great having this conversation.
I enjoyed my coffee.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So I'm glad you're back with us again, and I hope you got to learn a lot about our National Digital Inclusion Program, the impact that we're going to make, and where we're going. So as you heard, a lot of what we're going to do is trying to create that digital inclusion, reduce that digital divide by building digital connect centers around the country. But of course, we're starting off with key areas such as going to Toledo and going to the north and going to the west, and ensuring that while we're rolling out these initiatives, that we're also doing so equitably and that everyone is benefiting from the process. To continue that process of rolling out more digital connect centers, which are really service hubs that are going to be there for you, public spaces that can help you to connect, not just with government, but to connect with the wider digital environment. And we're going to be doing so in Orange Walk, in the north, and we're going to even go beyond that. The idea is to ensure that we're connecting the unconnected and that we're removing those barriers, and at the same time, really providing the necessary skills for the utilization of ICT so that they can benefit.
I'm really glad to hear that the project or the program is going first, is being implemented equitably. Because we can understand that while, yes, everyone or every single community in Belize, we can identify several gaps when it comes to the digitalization. It's important to go equitably so everyone can be on the same level first. For example, the rural areas, you mentioned Toledo, you mentioned some parts of Orange Walk, some parts of Corozal. And the important thing is to introduce or begin to introduce these new technologies to the people who have never seen them before or who have seen them before but have never had access to them.
To it.
Yes. So I'm glad that it's being done equitably and not only focused on youths or on one single gender. It's being done for the youths, for the elderly, for the middle-aged people, for lack of a better term, but also for the, I would say, classify them as how do you say it?
Marginalized.
Marginalized, thank you, marginalized. Yes, so that's very good to hear. How would you say the importance level is when it comes to not only giving them the access to it, but also changing their style of thinking when it comes to the importance of having access to it. Because I could give you access, but if you don't see the importance of utilizing the access, how would that fit in?
I mean, definitely. In every change process, it starts with culture. The decisions we make in our everyday life is based on our culture, what we've learned. So now asking you to engage with us digitally, to do everything digitally, that is maybe gonna be a shock for some of us. For some of us, it's gonna be like, yeah, this is totally normal. But we do need to provide the necessary facilities to help to create that culture, and that starts with creating awareness and knowledge. And that's why we're so heavily focused on doing digital literacy programs. And that's really going to be the step in helping those who might not be comfortable with the technology to get, a very smooth transition into what is a computer?
Yeah, of course.
How do you power a computer? How do you use a computer? How do you create and utilize social media? These are common things that you and I might take as, totally normal. Everybody should know it, but that's not really the reality. So these digital literacy programs are going to be very important. It's going to be open for all the communities. Of course, we invite everybody to participate in it. But also what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be offering different type of skills, digital skills boot camps. So specialized boot camps, such as focusing in specific areas, and maybe like in developing software development skills, even skills in cybersecurity, data analytics, that will help youths to find new opportunities in the ICT sector. And also I think give them an avenue to open up their creativity, their entrepreneurship spirit. Definitely. Because we're giving you new tools to be innovative and to also be part of the economy. So I think it's going to be exciting. Well, for me at least, it's very exciting, the project in being able to drive this change at all levels.
So that was very interesting, but I want to know what I really want to know, and what I'm sure a lot of the public out there wants to know. How has the reception been in terms of the different cultures, the acceptance level, the encouragement from the communities that you're going into to basically change their way of life? How has that been?
Well, certainly the experience has been different in every community, because every community is different. And one of the first things we've done is we do site visits and we engage with the local leaders, we engage with the people, we try to understand, really, simple question, do you want this transformation? Because we can make so much efforts in trying to bring everybody to the digital realm, but if you don't think that it's something that you want to do, then we also have to respect that. So that's one of the first questions, and I must say that so far it's been very positive. Many community leaders have kept telling us, this is like one of our top priorities. We want to have better connectivity, and I think what helped was I don't want to say really helped, but the truth is what created a bigger catalyst for this change was the pandemic. Yeah. Because every time we spoke to them, they always said, we saw how much our kids struggled during the pandemic in being able to connect, to continue being educated. So we see the importance of having the ability to connect, having the devices available, but for them as parents to also have the skills to help them. Definitely. Because that was even a challenge. I mean, imagine as a parent now, you have to help your child to do education online.
And that itself is a new process for you. So you have to orientate yourself to orientate someone else. And I could imagine that's probably a scary feeling as a parent. I'm putting myself in the shoes of a parent. Like I would feel scared to be able to, or to not be able to tell my kid that I cannot help you with this. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what was important. And I think because of all of that, I think it really highlights why we have to do this transformation. It's literally at our doors. The choice is to open the door and to allow that transformation in, to allow that change and that wave of something new. It is scary, for some of us, but we're here to support, and it's not just us. I need to highlight that we've done a lot of work with partners. Apart from the UNDP, the Taiwan government, we've engaged with local NGOs such as Humana, Trust for the Americas. So we're building on what others have done, because they have also done centers, community hubs, and they've done trainings.
Here in Belize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Humana has done some community hubs and some trainings in the south, in various towns and rural areas in Stan Creek and in PG. So, it's not something new.
So really, you have something to reflect on. You have a
Yes.
pilot to reference. So whenever all these telecenters from the government comes to life, it will be a smoother transition, because you can learn from what's been done before.
We can learn, we can adopt,
Yeah.
and we can also build on.
Definitely.
And that's what's important. Apart from being able to engage with the community, being able to get their input, it's also important to engage our partners who actually do the field work. We're not as much as we want in the field, so it's important that we have that first-hand experience from others who've done it before us, others who've seen the challenge, and can best advise in how government can be more effective. So
Okay.
definitely that's important in having that different perspective, but also creating the platforms that allows for even citizens to say, well, we think it might work this way for us, because not all communities are the same. We
course.
can't take the
Yeah.
same approach.
Because you don't want to implement something without getting the people who are actually going to use it to have a say before it's implemented.
Exactly, and I also think that youths have such a key role to play, because if you think about it, maybe it might be an easier transition for a youth to utilize a new device to build new skills than it might be an elder individual in your community. So I think as a youth, I would want to challenge you as a youth, but everybody else, to realize that you also have a key role to play, because if you have the skills, why not help someone else? So why not become digital ambassadors in your own communities? And that helps the change process.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're here to support all those who want to be part of the transformation. Just knock on the doors and we'll help. And like I always said, we cannot change unless we move with partnership. And that's the fundamental part of achieving that digital agenda and closing the divide and creating inclusion so that it meets the needs of the citizen. So, Erwin, I challenge you and all youths in Belize to help us create that change and to be part of the process.
Well, on behalf of myself and all the youths in Belize, I can safely say challenge accepted.
And I will hold you to it.
All right, so thank you for that. I'm glad that you mentioned or including youths as a main focus, because I know myself as a youth, I can see my colleagues who are out there struggling on the daily just to have basic access to technology. And I know for a fact that a lot of my colleagues out there are creative individuals. They just need to have this opportunity to express themselves. We can see people going on Facebook during the pandemic, taking their businesses online. So imagine what else could have been done if people are given the proper avenues to expand on their horizons. So I'm glad the youth, especially here in Belize, we're a developing nation, so we have limited opportunities, sad to say. But it is true, but it's also up to us to create these opportunities with the tools that are going to be given to us. This is a perfect example through the Ministry of E-Governance and the unit. You guys are going to give us the tools that we need. So now it's up to us to utilize the tools and get the opportunities ourselves.
And to also ensure that we are also having that gender lens.
Of course,
Let's make sure the women are involved. And, I just want to mention that soon enough too, we're going to be creating new initiatives specifically for women. And how do we bring more women in the ICT sector?
I like that.
It's important.
I like that. So, Ms. Alexa, I invite you and the rest of the audience to pay attention to this short video coming up. And this video will show us important points leading to the future discussion, not only for this episode, but for episodes to come. So, we'll be right back. So my role within the unit is a project officer. So I'm in charge of all the technical background work that goes on.
Officially, it's to be the director But really and truly in my day-to-day operations is to be that bridge between my unit and our colleagues across the public sector, but even with the private sector, even with the community. Change makers. What we're doing here is really going to transform and change the way, not just the way government operates, but the way as a country we operate.
The most exciting part about working with the unit is the fact that you don't have a set schedule. So while you may come into the office today, tomorrow you might be out in a rural village doing a site visit for a future Digital Connect Center. Or you might be meeting regular people on the street, just getting their feedback on what they need for the advancement of digitalization in Belize.
We spend a lot of time learning the needs of the communities, and in doing so we build connections, we build bonds, we build relationships.
We are trying to bridge the digital divide that exists in Belize by providing access to both technology, to technological devices, but also access to government services through centers like the Digital Connect Centers.
You know, we're the wave that's building up the momentum to create that change that we all want to see across government, at home, a different Belize, one that really allows for everyone to benefit and to grow. So thank you for staying tuned, and I hope that you've learned a lot about the different initiatives that we have going on in relation to e-governance. And Erwin, we've been really having a great discussion about what is the digital divide, you know, trying to connect the unconnected, what it will take us to go over that bump, you know, infrastructure, connectivity, providing access to devices, introducing, you know, digital connect centers and around the country, and also providing, you know, that needed access to upskill youths, women, elderly, and just providing for digital literacy training. I think it's been so much that we've discussed today, but I think it's going to be significantly impactful, you know. So as a youth, I want to get a little bit more of your youth perspective, you know, and how do you think overall this is going to create that necessary impact that we need in our transformation journey?
Well, again, like you said, it's been a lot, but I'm glad it's a lot because that means that there's a lot coming. So, as a youth, and from my perspective, I'm excited, honestly, because this means that we can finally fulfill the stereotype that we are digital natives. So, I mean, we have the opportunity coming up, and not only us, but everyone has the opportunity coming up. So, I'd like to invite everyone listening, everyone watching, to jump on the train that's passing by. Utilize the road that's being built for you. Utilize the tools that's being built for you. And with that, Ms. Alexa, I'd like to say thank you. It's been an interesting conversation.
Most definitely, and I want us to continue having the conversation,
Definitely,
right?
yeah, definitely. So I'll be back. I won't be back next week, but I'll be back the following week. Next week, you'll have your other co-host, Ms. Stephanie's going to be joining you. And next week, you're going to be discussing the importance of change and change management when it comes to leadership. And we can fully understand how change is going to occur from the top down and affect us within the local community. So I invite you guys to follow our Facebook page, interact with us. We have some cool prizes coming up, and I know you're not going to want to miss it.
Thank you, and I hope you continue enjoying and engaging with us. Like Erwin said, there's so much more that's coming up, and I'm certain you're going to learn and you're going to have great opportunities to also engage with us. So stay tuned. Thank you.
It is a wonder I get through at all. Doing government business, big or small. The lines are long, I'm waiting there. The process is a nightmare. So the government is making changes, so it's easier with online forms going paperless to handle your requests. And this is gonna change the way it is, a modern way to change the way we live. Upgrading all the systems we have to make your life better. Better cyber security and even better connectivity. The promotion of the transformation to the future for me. Making a digital Belize in the always changing industry technologies. But we see progress in all the communities. We need the digital spotlight. to what a digital believes.